Chapter 55. Megan's heart rate kept climbing as she watched Gabe approach. He set the bouquet down on the table beside the bed and rolled her suitcase beside it. He placed the purse on the table as well, briefly holding it open to show Megan the cell phone, wallet, and even Maddie's necklace within. As promised, he'd gotten everything sent over from St. Thomas as soon as he could. Her palms were clammy, and she became more nervous by the second. If he had come to say goodbye, she wasn't ready. "Thanks for getting my things. I can't wait to give Maddie her necklace when she wakes up. And the flowers are beautiful." She tried to keep her voice even. He shrugged. "I thought it might make you feel better. Besides, you can't get fresh Caribbean bouquets quite like this in Florida." He set a chair right beside her bed and sat down as close as he could. It reminded Megan of the first time they'd met, when he'd sat down beside her at Captain Sully's, only this time, instead of a grease-spotted, ripped, and faded T-shirt, he wore jeans and a polo-style short-sleeved shirt, without holes. And this time, even though she wasn't sure how he felt, she wasn't interested in putting any space between them. If only this weren't goodbye. "How are you feeling today?" he asked. She imagined telling him the truth. She was a bundle of nerves, an emotional turmoil. She didn't want this to be the last time she saw him. But she couldn't. "I'm fine. They finally took the IV off after I insisted. And Maddie's moving along well. No fever today, but they gave her meds for the pain, and they are making her sleep a lot. But they said she'll have a full recovery. Though she might have a scar or two. We'll see." "So what was that all about with that nurse? She has recommendations for you? Are you okay? Did they miss something on their initial evaluation the other day?" he asked anxiously. "And here I figured you wouldn't have to worry about me anymore," she teased. He raised a brow. "I can't help myself. I'm developing an addiction to it, I guess." He paused. "So, is everything okay?" She was just being funny, trying to cheer me up. She says I've been through a lot that might be hard to cope with within the months ahead. "That's true. It will take some time," he said, his fingers trailing over the scar on his chest. Megan recalled pressing her own fingers on that perfectly sculpted chest, right before she kissed him at the beach, and her face flushed. But fortunately, he was dazing off and didn't notice. She'd put it together the day before after Smith had told her about the near-death experience. Gabe had a habit of rubbing the scar when he was thinking. She wondered what had him thinking so hard right now. She wanted to ask, but figured after bombarding him with a million questions the day before, she should give him some space. And the one question she wanted to answer to, now that he was alone with her, did he have any feelings for her? Seemed so absurd. She couldn't bring herself to ask. Besides, now that the case was over, they'd be going their separate ways. She told herself that it shouldn't make her feel sad, but it did. She'd found her sister. Life would be fine. Time would heal the emotional wounds. Naples, her job, her home, her structured life was waiting for her. But what about Gabe Walker? As crazy as it sounded, she'd miss him. But she couldn't tell him without sounding ridiculous. And she'd already made a fool of herself one too many times with him, that day at the beach when she'd kissed him. Why couldn't she forget that kiss? She fumbled with the edge of the blanket below her fingers. "So, I can't tell you enough how thankful I am you brought my suitcase. I can't wait to get out of this hospital gown." Gabe glanced over her and smiled. "I'm sure you're ready to pull out your designer dress and shoes, but you'd look good in a potato sack, Megan." Megan cleared her throat and imagined pulling the hospital blanket over her head and hiding until he left. Why was he flirting with her? Why did he have to mess with her head? She ignored the remark and went on. "And thanks for the phone. I called Grandma Lynn last night from the room phone. I told her we are coming home tomorrow and I'd visit her as soon as possible. I decided to wait to tell her the truth until I get there. I hate to worry her. Besides, she sounded so excited. She wants to hear all about our vacation. You should have heard her, talking about how I'd finally taken time off work to do something relaxing. Well, there was that one day at the beach, he said, holding her gaze, an amused expression coming over him. Megan wanted to look away but couldn't. Was he intentionally taunting her? Was he talking about the kiss she'd planted on him? Yeah, that day at the beach was nice. Until I looked like an idiot and kissed you, she added to herself. Gabe leaned in closer and swallowed. Why did he suddenly look uncomfortable himself? There's something I want to say, Megan. Megan waited. Was this goodbye? Yesterday I told you everything you wanted to hear. But when I left, I realized I hadn't even thanked you or Maddie. For what? Driving you crazy? It had to have been difficult having me interfere with your investigation and cover assignment, even though I had no clue what was going on with you for real. No, I mean, yeah, you were fiery, he said with a chuckle. But I'm glad you came. And Maddie. I've spent 20 years chasing down Victor Torres and the guy who killed my family. And then you two show up, and in the blink of an eye, it's over. Not only do I get to return to Florida and my regular job, I have closure. I'll always carry some of the pain from the past around. I'm sure you can relate to that. But now I'll have to get used to not looking around every corner for something linking the case I'm working to my past. I know who killed my family, and I can finally let it go. I never expected to hear you thank me for anything, especially after all of that time you tried to get me to go home. But I'm glad you told me that. I feel a little better about everything, knowing you are better. Yeah, and I need to pay my grandma a visit myself. She has no idea what I've been doing on this assignment. She's going to find the cooking part quite funny. She spent years trying to teach me to cook. Well, it worked. I've never tasted an omelet so amazing. You should have my LaShawn. She made me master it. It's even better. Megan laughed. Yeah, maybe one of these days when you're not chasing down drug dealers. As soon as she said it, her face blushed. She just kept digging a hole. Though he'd flirted with her for sure, off and on since they'd met, if he'd really been interested in her, he would have said so. And that day at Haypenny, he wouldn't have blamed the kiss on her getting too much sun. There's something else I wanted to say. You know how I told you the other day how I had no choice but to keep my cover from you? Yeah, I understand. I know. But I also had to keep something else from you for your safety, and also because I didn't expect things to end like they did. What I'm trying, not very eloquently, to say is, checking in with you. Time to get lunch orders. Megan glanced up as a different nurse barged into the room. Gabe leaned back in the chair, and the nurse handed Megan a menu card. Megan wanted to yell at her to leave. Gabe had been about to share something with her, and she needed to hear whatever it was. She checked the boxes for menu item number 1, not even noticing what it was, and tossed the card to the nurse. Once they were alone, Gabe grinned. Hopefully, there won't be any more interruptions. He took Megan's hand in his. I'm not very good at this. It's been a while. But my grandma always told me, when you know, you know. And? Megan inquired, her pulse picking up. And I wanted to keep kissing you that day at the beach. In fact, if you hadn't ended the kiss, I'm not sure I would have been able to. Megan's mouth fell open an inch, but she closed it at once. She swallowed. But you said I got too much sun. He ran his thumb over the top of her hand, then met her gaze. I couldn't tell you how I felt. I wanted to keep you at a distance so I could concentrate on your safety. I was trying to get you to go home so I could stop worrying about you. But the truth is, Megan McKenna, even after the bust, after last night, after everything, you're all I can think about since the moment I saw you in Captain Sully's." He paused, leaning in closer. "I know I'm not your type, but what would you say about me taking you out on a real date, like you deserve, as soon as I can? Once we're both in Florida. I'll even shave the beard and get a haircut first." She chuckled. "I'd love that. I mean, the date part. I can't imagine how you'd look without the beard and long hair. I don't know. I kind of like it." "So that's a yes?" "I wouldn't say yes to anyone but you." He sunk his head, letting out a sigh. "I'm glad you'll go. Miami is only 2 hours from Naples. I'll plan it all." "You didn't think I'd go?" Megan couldn't believe that. Was he blind? "I was a little nervous. I know you can be difficult to persuade sometimes, speaking from experience." "Well, I'm glad to know Mr. DEA has nerves on occasion. You seemed so intense there for a second. I thought maybe you were going to try to kiss me or something." His smile widened, and his grip on her hand tightened. "I thought about it. Believe me." "Well, it's probably a good thing you didn't. You know how I am about being rational and making carefully thought-out decisions." "Honestly, I don't know that, Megan. I know the reckless one who goes running into dangerous situations, trying to save her sister and not even thinking about herself." "Well, I assure you, those were special circumstances." "I don't know. I think a lot has changed since the day I met you at Captain Sully's. Maybe this new you could let go of some of the old rules," he said, edging closer, his voice husky. His face was inches away. Electricity was shooting through her from the touch of his hand. She could hardly think straight. "I'd have to agree. I could change a few things." "That's good. Because the old you wouldn't have approved of me kissing you right now, for example, before even taking you out on a first date." "Yeah, the old me definitely would not have approved," she replied, eyeing his mouth. "She wouldn't have approved of me kissing you at the beach either." "Okay, then, it's settled. The old you doesn't need to know about that kiss at the beach. Or this." "Or what?" Before she could complete the sentence, his mouth met hers. She wove her fingers into his hair and pulled him closer. He took his time, kissing her slowly. Her heart beat wildly in her chest as warmth spread from her head to her toes, and Megan lost track of her thoughts and every worry in her mind. After a moment, he grinned, his voice low. "Remind me to thank your sister again for going on vacation." "I'll thank her for the both of us," she said breathlessly. Moments later, Gabe was gone, and a smile rested across Megan's face as she laid on the pillows. "If you don't marry that man and have his babies, I swear I'll never forgive you." Megan sat up. "Maddie, you're awake? Did you hear what I said? Never forgive you. That man is head over heels for you, sis. And, oh my, what a catch." Megan couldn't help but laugh. "How long have you been awake?" "Long enough to know Mr. DEA is definitely a keeper, Meg. He rescues us, he brings flowers, he cooks, and he's drop-dead gorgeous. I told you, you'd like him. He's more your type." "No, not for me. Too dangerous of an occupation. I'm a changed woman myself. I'm looking for non-action, no adventure, a man who takes minimal risks, maybe an accountant or something," she said with a giggle. Megan shook her head. "Good, because I was kind of hoping you'd let me keep Gabe." "Don't worry about that. I heard him, and I saw the way he looks at you. That man isn't letting you go anywhere. And you like him. I can tell. A lot, Meg. I can't believe you're finally relaxing a little. My older, calculated, rational sister. I'm only older by 1 minute. It counts, believe me. And Grandma Lynn is going to fall out of her chair when I tell her about you falling in love. Oh, let's not get ahead of ourselves, sis. I think the pain medication has got you talking crazy. I admit I'm feeling much better already. But it isn't the meds. I want you to be happy. And I'm just speaking the truth, Meg. You'd best catch up. I have a feeling my future brother-in-law just walked out that door. Megan sighed. Anyway, no matter what happens, I think I should make it official. What's that? My thank you. What are you thanking me for? For buying that ticket to St. Croix? That's what kid sisters are for, old lady. 1 minute older, remember? Yeah. Her expression sobered. Thanks for coming for me. I prayed someone would find me. I hate what you had to go through, but I'm glad it was you. You never gave up on me. Most people would have thought I was dead. I could feel you. You must have been sending vibes my way. I knew you were alive. Every time I got goosebumps, I wondered if you were in trouble too. I'm so glad you trusted your instincts. I love you, Meg. I love you too, Maddie. A mischievous look crossed Maddie's face. Now, tell me everything about that kiss at the beach. I want to hear all the juicy details about you meeting Gabe Walker. Start with Chapter 1. They meet at Captain Sully's. Maybe we can have a Captain Sully's themed engagement party for you two. Oh, Maddie, you're hopeless. As her twin, safe and sound in the hospital bed beside her, egged her on, she started at the beginning. She opened up her heart to her best friend and dreamt of the days to come. Life was giving her a second chance, and Megan was going to take it.